Hey, what if you could take a YouTube video, whether it's yours or one that you're following, and turn it into a unique and brand focused blog? And that's what we're going to work on today. So we're going to show you how exactly I'm going to take the video that I created last week, which is how to create your brand tone of voice, and turn that into a blog. We're going to work on it today and we're going to build it together. So if you're following along, if you go step by step with me, at the end of this, you should be able to take any YouTube video, as long as it's got the subtitles turned on, and turn it into a unique and on-brand blog article. So let's get started. So you'll notice that this scenario actually has two separate scenarios in make.com. We have Airtable, which is watching for records. This is not happening automatically. You could set this to turn on and watch on a certain time frame, every hour, every day, whatever, and it would watch for new records. We're only going to have it set to when we click run. So is not running all the time. It's only when you go in there to do it. Next, we're going to be using a module for a system called Appify. This is a paid system. And Appify basically is a marketplace of a lot of different connectors. And when you set up an account with them, then you're able to use your API key through make.com in order to call specific modules or scenarios from Appify. Now, the nice thing about Appify is that they give you a certain amount of money every month, and every month it resets. So you have a certain amount of tokens that you're able to use every month. So like you go down here, there's free usage of $5. I've used less than a penny for this month so far. And we're going to be using the YouTube scraper. Let's go ahead and walk through the rest of the scenario so you can see what happens. Appify is actually going to scrape that, and then we're going to pull the data set down. This is actually getting the information. This is running the actor, and it's waiting for that actor to finish in the background. And then this one's actually going to pull down that information. In our scenario, it's pulling out the subtitles, and then those subtitles are being passed over to ChatGPT, and we're telling ChatGPT, hey, I want you to generate a blog, but I want you to do it based off of my tone of voice. Now, if you didn't watch the tone of voice video already, go back. It's in the YouTube channel, or if you're a member of my school community, it's listed there as well. If you're new to the channel, I do have a school community where we upload all of the blueprints. So if you're looking for a way to make this faster, all you would do is head over to the classroom, click on automate everything, and then go down and find the video that you're trying to work. Like the last one we did was generate brand voice. Go down here and you download the blueprint. Once you have finished that, let me show you this one. You can just take here, import, save that, and boom, you've already got everything in there started. But we're not going to do that. We're going to build this together. So let's go ahead and clear all of this out so that we can build it together. And we're going to be starting from scratch on this one, just like before. All right, so after that scenario runs, so it generates a blog. It gives you a summary of the blog. It gives you a title for the blog, and then it puts that information into Airtable. So over here, we're using Airtable just like we were in the last one. It's like our database, our central brain where everything is going to be stored. So that information gets put in here. Here's the blog text. Now, similar to some of my other videos, and you'll see this as like a reoccurring model for me, I don't like AI just being able to pass stuff out without me approving it first. So most of these things are going to be broken into two-part scenarios, just like this one is. And the reason for that is the status here, right? I want to be able to say that it's been approved, and then it goes out there and runs that information, right? So if we look at scenario number 2 here, it's looking for approved labels in Airtable. Then it's going to grab that record. It'll get the information from the blog part, right? So the blog content, blog text right here. It's going to take that content. It's going to run it through an HTML markdown module, then create a Google Doc, and then it's going to let us know that it was put into Google, right? And the reason for that is then I can just copy that Google Doc, put it into whatever I want to, whether it be like for me, I'm using Beehive, or if you're using Wix, or if you're using WordPress, you have the ability to just copy it out as that Word document, paste it into your hosting solution for your blog, and it's already put into a markdown format to where you're able to see it. It looks nice. Let me go and show you the last one that I made over here. Go back to posts. And again, this is what we're going to be working on together, but this was just copied straight out of that, right? I was able to put the URL for the YouTube video in there. I was able to put other URLs in there, but this is the format that make.com and ChatGPT made for me. And that's those two scenarios. So let's go ahead and start building these together. Build together 2025. All right, so our first scenario, we're doing an Airtable watch record again. So we're gonna build this Airtable from scratch. So right now, I don't wanna grab anything yet because it's not gonna be there. Let's go ahead and look at the fields that we have here. We're gonna open up a new one. We're gonna create from scratch, and we're gonna call this one YouTube to blog build together 2025. And let's go ahead and make this a nice light blue, easy to see. So the first field here, I don't need it to be named because I'm not worried about that. I just need to put in the URL. So we can put YouTube URL. And then we're going to change this to a URL because we want to make sure that it actually is a valid URL that goes in there. Notes, we don't need that field. Let's see what else we had here. We had blog title, summary, blog text, and then status. These other ones over here, meta description and blog post, is for a future video. So we're going to leave those out of there, but you can add them later if you decide that you want to. So we're going to, at this field, we're going to say blog summary. Actually, let's go title first. Blog title. And this should be a single line text. It should be fine with that. Save. And let's add one to the right here. We're going to call this one blog summary. We're going to do the long text for this. One to the right, and we're going to say blog text. Again, long text for this one because this is the actual output, right? And then on the status here, we're going to have a couple things here. We're going to have denied. We're going to have approved. We're going to have posted in Google Drive. That way we have a couple different status options. Now, just like the other ones we've done, and if you're new to this, most of these Airtable scenarios, we're going to have two additional fields here. This is going to be the created time because it needs to be tracking what day and time it was created. And then next to that one, it's going to be the last modified time. Last modified time. There we go. It's not showing up. Okay. So now we have the things that we need here. We also have YouTube blog build together. So this is from YouTube to blog build together. So let's go over here to the scenario. Let's click on the base and let's refresh this because it wasn't there whenever it searched the last time. And this time we're going to type it in right here, YouTube blog build together 2025. So let's go ahead and choose table 1, and the trigger field is going to be last modified, and we can use status as our label. We can set it to 10. We're not going to have more than 1 in there. We're going to set this from now on, so that way anything we put in there from here on out is going to be eligible. So we run this once, and nothing happens because there's nothing in there yet, right? So I'm going to go over here and grab the URL for the YouTube video that I did on creating a tone of voice just last week. And we're going to take that one and put it into this YouTube table here. All right? We're going to copy and we're going to paste that right there. We're going to delete these other 2 fields. And we will see that this one was created at 329 because that's when we generated this Airtable. But it was last modified at 333. So we need that last modified. We need the fact that something changed in order for this to run. So now when we run this, it should pull through this YouTube video into that scenario. So let's run it. Boom. There's the YouTube URL. Gives us the last modified date and when it was created. Okay. So that's the first step. And if we go back over here and we look at the next steps, we're going to be doing some stuff with Appify. Now, like I said before, if you're using Appify and you need to connect to it, you're going to go under settings, you're going to go under API integrations, and you're going to copy out your API tokens and put it in there. So let's go ahead and create a Appify, run an actor, right? So Difference between run an actor and run a task is actors are here, and then tasks are run inside of there. So you can save a task that you want to run through an actor, but in our scenario, we wanted to run a new actor, which is going to be this YouTube scraper. So we're going to tell it to run that. Now, if you don't have this, what you can do is click on Add API Token. Again, the way you get to that is go to Settings, and then go to API and Integrations, and you're going to copy your API token here and put that into your make.com scenario. And then that way you'll put it in right there. It's good to go. Now, I already have one here, so this is the one I'm going to be using. The actor that I want to use, you'll see that it's pulling a list of actors that I have used in the past. But let's say you haven't run one yet, right? It's not just going to show up here. So you'll need to go into Appify, go to the store, and search for YouTube scraper, right? And it's the first one here. We're actually scraping the full video, not the shorts. So make sure you're grabbing the correct one here. YouTube scraper. Now you're going to notice here it's got a term automatically there. We're going to remove that. It's got a couple other things, but we need to copy this JSON after we have set up a few things here. And the reason for this is we need to tell it what the integrations are that we're using. So manually, we're going to go down here to where it says direct URLs, and we're going to add a direct URL for the one that we have, right? So this way it's going to put it in there. It's going to show us exactly where that URL is supposed to go. And then that way we're not trying to figure it out later as to what needs to be taken. Next, we're going to click on the scraping subtitles. This is important for our scenario because we don't want it to have to watch a video and try to figure it out. We want it to just pull the subtitles that are already there. So we'll tell it download subtitles, and then down here under subtitle format, we're going to change this to plain text. We don't want it to come out in SRT or any of those because those are relevant specifically if you're going to take subtitles, put it into a different system that's using that as a subtitle reference. So in this one, we are just going to be pulling out this plain text format. All right. And I believe that is all we need, but let's go check. So once we save this, or if we go up here to the JSON, you'll see that the output has a couple different things. One right here, there it shows the URL, where that goes. And it also shows the format is in plain text. And then we're also going to select under this one the prefer automatically generated subtitles. That way, this is a subtitle that YouTube generates and not one that was uploaded from a user or you're downloading a different subtitle. So make sure that's turned on as well. And then we're going to go up here to this JSON option. We're going to copy this out because this is what we're sending to this guy. So the JSON input here, we're going to copy. We need to select this one. So we have YouTube scraper, and we're going to right click here, paste and match style. That way it keeps everything in here. Now, here's one area. Runs. Basically, this scenario will wait until the actor is finished before it moves to the next one. Sometimes this can take a while. And if you don't turn this on, what's going to happen is it's automatically going to go to the next one where it's trying to grab the data set based on the data set number that was created, and it's not going to be available yet. So it needs to run in this method so that it will wait and then trigger that next one versus just automatically running. You'll see here, if your run exceeds this timeout, you will need to use the trigger watch actor runs to retrieve the results once the run is finished. Okay, so this is what we're going to be setting up here. That's all we're doing. We're just putting this information in here. However, we are going to be using a variable from the first module. So we're going to go here where the URL is. We're going to get rid of that, and then we're going to put the YouTube URL. So that way when we put new URLs in there, it's not going back to the same one that I used the last time. It's going to put whatever method you have in there. Again, we're grabbing the plain text format there. Click save. We're going to go ahead and run this scenario once. If you were with me on the last one, you'll remember that because there's not a new change to this YouTube blog table, nothing is there. And what this does is by adding something in here, it changes the last modified time to right now. And with the new last modified time, now it will run. It's going to run this. It's going to go out in. So this searched that URL. It is running this actor to grab this information. But in this one over here, in our previous scenario, what I showed you was we have two. This is just going to run the actor. and this one is going to grab the data set items from that actor, right? So this one is actually looking at the data set ID from this one in order to get the information out of it, all right? So let's go back over here. We should see both of them ran, and what we're getting here is, where is the default data set? Right here. So default data set ID. We're going to need this number for the next part. It succeeded. If we go back over here to Appify and we look at our actors, that one ran. If we click on this one and we go look at the runs, it'll show the last one we just did. It cost us 0.005 cents, right? So we're still less than a penny for it to run this video and scrape the URLs or scrape the subtitles out of it. So there's that. Next, we need to go and use another Appify, and this is going to be a get dataset items app module. So we're going to add this on right next to it, and we're going to click on Appify again, get dataset items. We have to tell it what dataset we're actually asking it to grab from. So we're going to tell it to grab from this one next to us, and it's going to be the default dataset ID. We're going to leave that format in JSON. And limit doesn't really matter. You could set how many you want to. We're going to leave it at the 100 because that's what it is by default. But realistically, it's not pulling 100 data set items here. All right, so let's run these two. Now, in this one, the output, there is no actual content here. Like nothing is there that we could grab from. The text isn't there. So let's go change this again. Let's update this, make a change. All we can do is just delete that. And now the time changed from 340 to 343. So it's new change has happened. So now we can run this one again. And this may take a little while for it to run it. I will tell you, once it's run once, the actors seem to run a little bit faster on the next run, or if you do this multiple times to test it out. So there we go. And then over here under this get dataset items option, we're going to click on that. We have text here, and then there is the text. So this is, oh, I'm sorry. This is the actual text that came in from the comments or from the text of the video. So it actually downloads this stuff, and it also downloads the subtitles. So if we go back over here to the scenario, not under text, but down here under subtitles, and then number 1, number 2, we have plain text, and there you go. So it's got the subtitles from the whole video that we did last week, and you're able to grab this information and put it into ChatGPT. So next we're going to open up this, and we're going to say we're going to use an OpenAI create a completion, just like we did on the last one, and we're going to generate blog from YouTube. So let's go ahead and copy that. I'm going to open this up because I'm going to copy this information out of here, and we'll paste it into this next one. You'll see that I actually have 2 things going, or 3. So your helpful writing assistant, you are below is a transcript from a video that we recorded. I want to convert this into Markdown, make it comprehensive, write it in the below provided tone of voice of Chase. So that's me. I want it in my tone of voice. Should be written in the first person. Do not reference the original author. Now, this scenario, if you're using somebody else's YouTube video, you don't want it to reference the original author because you're creating a blog off of somebody else's content, basically. But in this scenario, it's my content. I want it to do that, but I don't want it to necessarily reference that video as if it was a separate thing. I want it to write in the first person, and I want it to use my information. Now, down here, I'm providing this. I also told it that I wanted to include a link to the original YouTube video. That way, if somebody's looking at the blog, they can grab that URL and just click on it. Depending on what format you're using, you may have to tell it to format this in a different way. So in this scenario, all it's going to do is just dump it in there, but you may have to have it included as an Ahref reference to put the URL in there so you can have it say what you want to, and it shows up correctly. You'll see that when this is generated, it just dumps the URL into it, and we have to go and make something different. So here is the actual plain text. We're pulling it from this one, and here is my tone of voice. Now, if you're not familiar with how to generate the tone of voice, I have a video that we did previously, and you can see that this is very comprehensive and goes over in great detail how to create this tone of voice, making sure that ChatGPT understands how to sound like me as it's being written. I'm not going to show you all of that because I have a different video out there on how to create that tone of voice file. So again, this is just going to be connected to this data set. We're using 01 Mini. 03 Mini just came out. 03 is brand new. It's not available through make.com yet, but based on some initial testing, it looks like it's going to be pretty freaking powerful. So I'm excited to see when we're able to start adding that into this. Again, you have your connection, create a chat, completion, 01 Mini, and then in this scenario, I have multiple messages. I've worked with this before in the past, and you can do everything in one message. You don't have to have these separate messages. For me, it makes it easier to have succinct responsibility sections here, and that's why I break it down. Hey, letting them know, hey, you're a helpful writing assistant. Context here, we want you to use the original URL, which right there, include it in there. Subtitles, this is going to come out of this data set one, so subtitles, and then plain text here. The reason that this is different is because the numbers were different on the other one that we did. And then again, this is the tone of voice, and you can see this is massive, right? So if I go show you my tone of voice file, this was generated from a previous thing. So this is based on my articles, my blog posts, my social media content, all of that stuff. It was put into it, and it was able to go generate a unique tone of voice so that I can match my brand using ChatGPT and me not having to rewrite everything. It takes so long to do that. All right, so now we have that. The next one in our scenario was a summary of the blog. I'm going to copy the rest of these over and we'll just walk through them together. You're going to create a summary of the blog, right? So we're going to be using ChatGPT. Now, why does this still show this? Because I didn't actually click on save here. Click on save, now that goes away. So these are telling me that there's something referenced in here that I don't have access to because it's still referencing from something else. So when I click on summary of blog, again, we're going to be doing a ChatGPT completion. All you have to do is add in a new GPT, or you can just copy the one you have here. User, you are a writing assistant tasked with summarizing the following blog into a short and understandable output for review by a content manager. Should be 35 words or less, and then the blog is the actual result from the previous one. So we're telling it, grab from here, whatever the result is from that, I want you to review it, and then I want you to summarize it 35 words or less. If you don't tell it 35 words or less, it's going to give you this massive summary, and it takes a long time to read it. Realistically, the summary is so that you can quickly look at it, or if somebody else is looking at this Airtable, they're able to identify what the point is of this blog. Title generator. Again, we're creating a new ChatGPT connection here. We're using 01 Mini again because it's faster and it's cheaper. And we're going to tell it, you are a writing assistant tasked with creating a catchy blog title based on the below text. Only provide one single title with no other text. Now, let's talk about why I have that there. So we're going to go back here down to generate blog. That's the result. I wanted to pull from that, not from the subtitles. The reason I have this part here is the first time that I created this prompt, it gave me like 5 options and it told me why one would be better than the other. I don't want that. I just wanted to create a unique and catchy blog post title that can be posted in there. And I don't want any information or instruction as to why one would be better than the other. I just want the video title or the blog post title. That's it. And then we're going to click on save. Something that we have not been doing throughout this entire scenario build is clicking on save right here. This is super important. I've talked about it before, but if you don't save often on this, you are going to lose things. And the reason is this does not auto-save like everything else that you would think auto-saves, right? So this one, if you get this far and you create all this other stuff and then you close the window on accident, you lost it. There is no recovery. There is no, it auto-saved at certain points. You need to click on the save button here. So you're saving the scenario. That said, if you were to click on this X option, it's going to ask you, are you sure you want to leave because something wasn't saved? Lastly, in this scenario, we're going to update that Airtable record. We need it to go update against our new YouTube generation one that we're building together, the build together 2025. And we're going to do table 1, and then we're going to reference the ID from the very first module we have over there, right? So we're referencing that. We're telling it that we're going to update that. Now, table 1 was the name of the table in this one where I already have stuff running. Table 1 is the same name on this one. So just to reduce that confusion, we're going to say blog post or YouTube video URL and blog output. All right, so we're going to change the tab name to that. And then that way, when we go look at this in here, when we tell this to refresh, we're not confused as to which table 1 we're referencing here. We know that's the name of it. We pull that down, and now it's going to give us all of the options that are inside here. One, that just went to a new thing, so the record ID bounced back to what we had the previous time. So we're going to have to click on record ID again. YouTube URL, we're not changing anything with this. It was already there. We're going to leave that alone. Blog title, we're going to pull this from the title generator. All right, so title generator, result's going to go in there. Blog summary, result is going to go in there from the summary of the blog. And then blog text, we're going to have the generate blog from YouTube right there. So those things are going to happen. Now, the way this is set up is we only want this to run if there's a new blog in there. So we're going to, let's save this. We only want this to run if there is a new blog in there, right? So we're going to set up a filter right here where only pull something, only new videos. And then the status is only going to work if it does not exist. So basically, if you've got this status set to approved, that's a new thing that happened. If I click on run, it's going to recognize that a new change happened, but stop right there because the status exists. So now let's go back in here to YouTube, build together, Airtable. We're going to remove that. This should update. Actually, it's still the same time, but it is a new thing. So we're going to run this, and it's going to run through the whole scenario together. So this is important to show. If we were running this synchronously, the scenario would have hit right there and it would have timed out. It would have said, you reached the limit of this module. But because we have this running in the method that it is, it's going to keep running. But if we go look at the Appify here, we refresh this. It's still running. So this is taking a little bit longer for it to do the same content that we've already done in the past. Don't know why it's taking longer, but it is. So we're just going to let this run through until it finishes. All right, so now that it's finished, it ran all the way through this. We're going to go look at the Airtable over here and see what it's generated. So we're going to click on here. It's got the YouTube video, the blog title, unified branding, how AI can ensure a consistent voice across all your platforms. A blog summary, use AI tools like ChatGPT, Airtable, and Make.com to analyze content, automate workflows, and create tone guidelines, ensuring a consistent brand voice across all platforms effectively. Boom. Then we go down here to the actual blog text. And this, the way it's formatted now, it can be pasted into a Google document. It will format these things as headers, header 2, give examples of this information, all of this stuff. And it has the full YouTube video here. Ready for a deeper dive? Watch the full video tutorial here. It's got the URL that can be used. Some information down here. Now, I'll probably leave the hashtags and stuff out of there. So in the future, you'd be able to copy that and tell it not to add that stuff. I like this. I'm good to go with this. So the next step would be telling it to go ahead and generate the output from it, right? So instead of just leaving it there. Now you could, if you wanted to leave it at this point, you could take from here, go into blog text, copy all of this. Let's go over to Beehive where I am hosting mine. And let's say you want to, now it's looking for a title first. I'm going to skip past that and go down here. We're just gonna right click, paste and match style. You can post this stuff right in here. Got everything you need. It goes in here. Now this is the title, so I would just copy that out of there and paste it right there. Right? There's the content. On future ones, I'm going to show you how to generate images. So if you wanted to generate an image, use it as a thumbnail for this, or generate images to be automatically put in here with it, we're able to do that as well. But let's walk through the next part. Let's say you don't want it to go this way because maybe you're just emailing it out, right? And you want to just be able to copy it from an email and send it out. Next part of the scenario is looking for approved records, which we have there. So we're gonna have to go create this and tell it to watch that Airtable record again, get the record, convert it to Markdown, put it in the Google Doc, and then update. Now, I'm pretty sure we don't need this step, so we may actually end up taking this out completely, creating this Google Doc, and then we're gonna update that Airtable to let us know that it was done. So let's walk through this and build it together. Airtable, we're gonna watch records. Which Airtable are we using? The same one that we used from before, right? So we'll search this base for YouTube, build together for our blog 2025. Now, similarly, we got to make sure we're using the correct table. And we have to make sure that we have the trigger field set to last modified and the status of this. Now, the status of this matters because we're going to be changing the status and we're going to be setting a filter there. Now, next thing, I want to show you a couple of things here, right? So let's run this once. And if we click on this, nothing was there because there's nothing new that had happened from before. So let's go in here and let's say we just change this to approved, right? That's the status change. Something's different. Also, let's go ahead and update this and give it a name in our, so it doesn't just say Airtable integration, and we're going to call it build together 2025 2. And now let's run this. And you'll see that it pulled in the blog text, it pulled in this information. Now, sometimes, and you'll see that I have it here this way, we're watching, we're grabbing, or a new record came in, and then we're getting the record, right? So we're pulling it, which is basically doing the same thing. But the reason for this is having this only if approved, right? So this would, if we have 30 or 40 new things that have happened here, it's going to try to pull all of them. But we want it only to pull a record if it has been approved, and then it will pull those records down. In that scenario, we're going to do the same thing here, and we're going to add in a get record instead of a watch record. We're going to reference this record ID. Base is going to be YouTube, build together, table again, and then the record ID is going to be from the previous one. So it's going to grab that record ID, but only, we're going to set up this filter, so only if approved. And this is just a label so that we can see it there. But the condition is status and then equal to, but case insensitive, approved. Now, the reason for this is it may be uppercase, lowercase, as long as the word is in there, regardless if it's uppercase or lowercase, it doesn't matter. Now, realistically, this is a drop-down option, so you're not typing something in there, so it's always going to be whatever that is. But if it's something where people can type it in, you want to make sure that it's possible for them to type it in, but it's the wrong uppercase or lowercase, so it's case insensitive. All right, so now we run both of those. Again, this is going to fail because nothing's changed. So we're going to go make a change to this. We're going to set that to nothing and then set it to approved. Run this again. So grab both of them. So this pulled the information down as well. I'm not changing this with anything other than creating a Word document. So we can go over here and tell it, like, let's create a Google Doc. Create a document. The name is going to be the blog title. The content is going to be blog text. We're going to save it inside of Google Drive. Now, if you don't already have a connection here, you're going to click on add. It's going to ask you to log into Google, and then you're just going to log in with whatever Gmail account you have for this, and then you'll be able to search through your things. Now, I have 2 here, and the reason it's saying fail is because I actually have 2 accounts with Gmail, and one of them is a wrong account. They're both for the same one. So I have to go through and figure out which one is for which. But once I click on here, when it says failed to connect, that tells me I'm on the wrong one. So AI and make is what the folder that I wanted in. And then I have one for YouTube generation. Let's see, YouTube to blog generation right there. I just want it to go inside of that folder. And then we're going to click on save. And again, this is a brand new scenario. I haven't done anything with it. So we're going to click save again. And then lastly, because we're using Airtable and we're making changes to it, we want to update this record and tell it, hey, now it's been posted in Google Drive. But because I don't remember exactly what this was listed as, I'm going to go in here and copy the status directly out of there and use it to create this update. So the base that we're using again is the build together for YouTube to blog generation. That table is this. We're going to grab the record ID from over here, scroll all the way to the beginning, make sure we're using the same record ID, and then we're going to change the status to posted in Google Drive. Now, if you accidentally type something in that's different than what this is already saved as, it's going to try to create that status, and then it's going to tell you don't have the account authorization to make that change. This is the best way to do it. Copy it out of Airtable, paste it in there. That way you make sure that the status that you're changing it to is a relevant and accurate status. So let's go ahead and save this scenario. Let's click run once. It's not going to happen because nothing has changed on here. Let's go make a change to it. And again, the change could be changing something and changing it right back. It recognizes a change, and it's going to go in and tell make.com this is a new row. So click on run once. It's set to approve, so it's going to grab that record, it's going to create a Google Doc, and then it's going to, after the Google Doc is created, then it's going to update this record in Airtable. So if we go back to the Airtable, post it in Google Docs, let's go check out this folder at 422, Unified Branding, how AI can ensure. Let's open this up. Okay, so that didn't go through. So let's make sure, let's make some changes to this. This did not come through in the proper format. So this is why I had the markdown thing there before. So this, stretch it out a little bit, and then we're going to take, so in this one, mark down to HTML. Let's just copy this module, or you know what, let's just put it in there. We're going to drop that in right there in the middle. And then this, the markdown we're going to be using is blog text. That is what we're doing. Blog text, see? Yeah, and nothing changes in those advanced options. But over here, instead of referencing this, we're going to reference this. So in here, we're going to get rid of blog text from there, and we're going to change it to the HTML content. Save that. Let's save this again. And then let's go make a change on here back to approved. And then let's run it again. Let's see how it runs through. It's going to create this. Now, hopefully what we see on the output of this one is a prettier. There we go. So that markdown to HTML does give it the output that it needs. So you can see this. It does give you the, check out the original video for a visual walkthrough there. It converted that. And again, down here at the bottom, ready for a deep dive, watch the full video. Now, when you copy this, let me just copy all of this and go over here. And delete this. This is in my blogs thing, so paste and match style. Yeah, that's not what I wanted. Let's paste. So now everything went in there in the same way. This is one of those scenarios where you're going to have to play around with it because in some scenarios it works and some it doesn't. Now, yeah, so if you click on this, it's got the YouTube video there and it brings it up for you. So this would go directly into my blog post. I will say that the last time I did this, when I created it the first time, it didn't put the URL in there correctly. So play around with that, make sure it's working the way you want it to. If it does, beautiful. If not, you may have to just tweak it a little bit, ask ChatGPT to help you update the prompt to make sure that it goes out in the correct manner. Now, again, if you want to just download these and import the blueprint, all you have to do is join my school community. The content is in there. You just click on the classroom, from the classroom, go into automate everything, and then select the video that you want, and you'll be able to download the blueprints, as well as I put in a copy of this Airtable so that you're able to just take the Airtable and duplicate it. So what does that look like? Just in case you're wondering, this will be shared, and there will be a URL here. And when you paste that URL in, then all you do is click on copy base, and it will put it into your Airtable base. This will be gone before it actually gets posted, but that's how you do it. You just click on copy base. You're able to start with exactly what I have here. You import these two scenarios into your make.com, and you're golden. You're able to run it through exactly how it is. So hopefully this makes things faster for you. Come back on my next video. I'm going to be going over how to take this blog post and turn it into social media content so you can post on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter or X and just post out content that's generated specifically for those platforms with images that you can use quickly and help you increase your process of developing brand or on brand, help you develop content that maintains your existing brand voice and stays within your requirements.